depending on how your facility's geared. There's nothing magic about that. I might do like one or two places, and on the intact side, I might do more to be more clear. The book says do it 3 times to get it to be consistent. You're not going to see people do it 3 times in acute care. In outpatient, you are, because it's important, there's consistency of responses. But the reality is, you know, I mean, if it's inconsistent and you have doubts, I would certainly do it 3 times. But the reality is, you know, people are going to do it once and move on, so they get other stuff done. So I, a lot of times, will combine sharp, dull, touch localization, and I imply in there then if they can do touch localization, then they got light touch as well. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Everybody with me on that? So if they're intact, now if they're not following me, then I got to back up and do one at a time. But if I can, I will combine them. And so I'll start on the intact side, and I'll say, okay, so what I'm going to do is can you guys see okay? You need me to stand? Do you mind standing? Okay. So what I'll say is and normally I would be in front, in line with that person, right? So if they're sitting, sit back down for 1 second. Do not stand over the person like this. This doesn't feel nice, does it? I mean, it's you know, that's not a good way to be. Get on your knees, get on a chair, scoot the bed around, whatever, so that you're in line with them. Just from a, you know, you'll see people go like so. If you got bad knees, then come up with a different solution. This is not a solution. This is a bad idea. Okay? All right. But for showing you guys, then I'll just be over here. So if I'm going to start, sort of, if I feel like that they may have nothing down here, I may start further up here and work my way down, or vice versa, with what I've observed so far. And I'm going to say, okay, so I got this safety pin. This is going to be dull. This is going to be dull. And that's going to be sharp. Can you tell the difference? Mm-hmm. Okay, the other thing I'm going to have you do is when I touch you, like if I pushed right there, you would say dull and take your other hand and touch there. Okay? Now, if that other hand doesn't move, if this is a pneumonia patient, that's fine. If this is a stroke patient, that's the stroke side, then she can just tell me index fingertip. Okay? If she's aphasic, then no, that's not fine, and you've got to come up with yet another reason to do it. Make sense? All right? So, if you close your eyes for me. So, first of all, is that sharp or dull?
Dull.
And how about now?
Sharp.
Okay, can you show me where I've touched you? Okay. All right. It's harder than it looks. And what was that? And where? Now, I would, if I'm in, if I suspect there's some kind of nerve damage going on, and where was it?
Sharp.
And where? Okay. So you can see that, I mean, if there's distractions and whatever, it's hard to even keep track just with you and I. I might have to back up and only do one, but if I can get away with doing it all, then I'm gonna. So then if the intact side is okay, and she's told me where, then I'll go and I'll do the same thing on the other side. Does that make sense? So if for some reason that she's not responded to anything, okay, she's not saying, she can't tell the difference between if I go here and I say, okay, so is that sharp or dull? And then nothing happens, okay? Hey, Felicia. Then when I go sharp and dull and she can't feel the difference, or she can't feel anything, I'm going to go to pain. I mean, I'm not going to be causing her pain, but and pressure, and can she feel the temperature, and I'm not going to be doing light touch kinds of things, because if she's not feeling that, she's not going to feel light touch. Does that make sense? Okay. So you can go, you know, up the arm. Sometimes you'll see weird sort of patterns of distribution, and you might need to map that, especially if it matters to what you're doing. Like spinal cord, it would matter. The dermatomes, and when that would give you ideas about how the spinal cord, what levels are impacted and what not. So then sensory testing is super important there. Stroke patient in a regular hospital, pneumonia patient, you just need to know that they can feel. Does that make sense? Okay, so then for, I probably would have her do, then I'd say, okay, now I'm going to just put something in your hand, and I want you to tell me what it is, okay? You close your eyes. If she can't move her hand, I'll take it to her fingers, and I'll literally move her fingers around it. Because it's not the ability, I'm not testing her ability to, prehensile ability, I'm testing her ability to know what that is. And what is that?
A key.
A key. So if I would do a couple of these, and maybe she might get one, or she might get all. Okay? And then, so did you guys show proprioception and kinesthesia and stuff? Do I need to test that too, or show you that? You'd like me to, or you did it?
please.
Okay, all right. You can probably sit down for that. They should be able to see. So, again, you can do the whole thing, or you can segment. So if you're an outpatient, you might be more laser focused on and go in more depth about a smaller area. If you're in the hospital, you're probably going to be broader, less depth. Does that make sense? All right. So I've done my maybe range of motion, and in the hospital, I'm not breaking out the goniometer either, right? Unless specifically I got to make a splint at a certain thing or something like that. I'm going to do it's 3/4, it's half, or whatever. Maybe on rehab I will because of the shoulder, so I can show progress or regression. But I'm, otherwise. And if it was like a knee, you'll see. I mean, they'll measure that all the time because that's what they want to know. But nowadays they don't stay in the hospital long enough to even measure it hardly. This chair is broken. Slide before I end up on the floor. Okay, so I'd be in front of her normally, right? And I'd say, okay, so we're going to just measure and see if your joints can tell where they are. It's a little bit as Simon says. So I'm going to have you, I'm going to move your arm in a certain place, and then I want you to use your other side to move just like I do. So if I move one like this, you're going to move the other one like that. Okay? And so then I'll have her close her eyes and see if she gets how to do that. I might, if I really think she has problems, I might do it with her eyes open first and give her feedback. So then I'd say, okay, so we're going to get started. And I moved it here. Can you move that one there? And then I'll say, okay, how about now? Match it. Got it? Now, for the affected side, if let's make this her affected side for a second. So if this is her affected side, then she's good to go over there. She can copy all of those things. And it might look like this. And then I might say, okay, do they match? And she'll say, yeah. And I'll say, okay, open your eyes. And she'll go, oh, no, they don't match. Okay? And so then you know, yes, proprioception is impaired, right? If I want to see kind of where the other side, the stroke side is, and can she have a sense directly that way, and she has pretty good movement, I'll keep it lower and see if she can match for the stroke side. So if, let's switch now and make that her stroke side, okay? And I'll ask her to do the movement, okay? So she's going to close her eyes, and I'm not going to bring it overhead if she doesn't have overhead movement, but I'll do it here and see if she can bring it there. And it may look like, floppy or something like that, but I get the gist. She gets where I am. If I bring it to the side, does she try? Does she try to move her wrist when I move it? So that, gives me, but it won't, my expectation for perfection there is not, but it'll give me a sense. So kinesthesia would be when you were doing it, when they were moving, they were in the process, you can do the same thing, but they're moving. And you have to continue to move and get the response while they're still moving. Otherwise, you're in proprioception. Okay? All right. So I probably used up all y'all's time right in my mouth.